Parents of Reddit, how do you feel when your kid brings back a girlfriend/boyfriend? How do you decide whether you like them or not? My daughter just started dating. She was mortified when I picked them up and asked if everything was Gucci. I first met one of my kids' partners when they both joined us on a weekend away. We had a discussion on some general subject in which he disagreed with me. He defended his position rather than defer to me. Good chap. When they interact and help out the rest of the family. When my daughter didn't understand her homework and then her sister's boyfriend helped her, it showed how much he actually cared. My 4-year daughter introduced me to the 5-year neighbor kid as a BF. She told me he's really good at running fast and he appreciates snails as much as she does. Needless to say, this is a keeper. My husband and I always like the person unless there's something terribly wrong with them. First of all, we want our kids to trust us and never to disregard our not liking a potential mate because we never like anyone. Secondly, we would never want our kids to feel like they have to choose, it's their mate, not ours. Thirdly, most young people are fairly okay, so no point in acting like no one can be good enough for our precious babies. I feel excited for them. It's that wonderful time at the start of a new relationship and it's exciting to see them happy and enjoying this new experience. It's still quite new for me, and them, so as a parent I'm still learning. I've been fine with all the people I've been introduced to so far, maybe as I know that the likelihood is these relationships won't last, so for me it's not an issue if I don't take to them. Time will tell once their relationships become more serious. I said, whatever you do to my daughter, I will do to you. I've been stuck giving him emotional support and validation for 3 years. That ducking bastard. Edit. I had a story about a great future son-in-law who impressed me with his basic decency at the age of 19. Reddit came to the astonishing conclusion that he and my daughter were having sex. Good thing I posted here or I never would figured that out. If you don't know any synonyms for sex, read on. My daughter 13 wanted me to meet her first real boyfriend. I was nice and pleasant, but I knew it wouldn't last cause he was all looks and no brains. Of course, as junior high relationships go, it was about a 2-month ordeal. I think all parents should try and be cordial, unless the person feels like a serial killer or something. My eldest is 15, and boys in high school can be gross. The way they speak to girls, and girls to boys, is just so far out of line it makes me ill. But her boyfriend is respectful to her and her family. Most importantly, they're the same brand of weird. They FaceTime 19 hours a day, I swear, but yesterday they had an entire conversation about penguins, both using the same weird fake Russian-type accent. He's her safe place and without very good cause, I'd never get in the way of that. It's about respect, if she treats him right, and compatibility. On the other end, not her dad, but my girlfriend's roommate is this old grizzled Marine dude. She told me that he liked me because I didn't try to get him to like, which apparently most people do. I was just myself and acted naturally, which he appreciated. Just be yourself and the people that will like you, and the people who won't. But always be respectful. My mother has always been accepting of everyone I've ever dated, but realistic about their faults. My family immediately welcomes them with open arms, but just warns me if they seem off for whatever reason. I think it's a decent system. My parents both instantly liked the first super nerdy boy I brought home. He didn't even have to talk before my dad was beaming at him. It was weird tbh. I married the nerdy guy, so their instincts were good, so I'd. Ada, my first silver. Thank you, kind Reddit stranger fam. Not a parent, but my parents have talked about my boyfriends. They liked most of them, but my dad said there was one he specifically didn't like right away. I dated that guy for over a year before he cheated on me with his ex and left me for her. My dad said he didn't like that guy because he reminded him of his ex-wife who did the same thing to him. Well, my mother's decision is 90% based on if she's Catholic or not. Can't say I'm a fan of her method. Not a parent, so I called my mom. She stated, and I quote, "I like all of them until they give me reason not to. Then I never tell you whether I like them or not, so I don't influence your own judgment. I cannot choose for you, although sometimes I wish I could." Mrs. Unappreciated Sin Edit, spacing Edit 2, yes, I'm aware that my mother appreciates me, as many pointed out, lol. It's not her that's the concern. But I appreciate you guys sticking up for my mom, even when it's not directed to her. Thank you guys for pointing it out, hopefully this fixes it. Edit 3, Well, they've all been fine so far. Except for one. It's the only time I've ever gotten mad enough to kick someone out of my home. He tried to get me to believe that he didn't know what a potato was. My stepdaughter's boyfriend came into my house and we were talking about computer games, and he had the audacity to tell me why Red Dead 2 was better than God of War. In my house. But respect to the lad for that, he stuck to his principles and a year later still argues with me about gaming stuff. My mother-in-law assumed I was some sort of player when I first met her before my first date with my wife. Even told my wife that she assumed I went on lots of dates back at school. Joke's on her. I spent the entirety of my freshman year before I met my wife, enjoying the sweet internet speed of my dorm room and playing the shit out of Halo 3, Mass Effect 1, 2, picking up drunk dorm mates from house parties at 3 a.m., and going on exactly 0 dates. After years of getting to know my mill, she just didn't want her daughter to get into a long-distance relationship, then end up moving out of state with me if we got married and I was still there, which ended up happening. Whoops. Not a mother, but I'm a sister to a lovely brother. He had brought some girls in-house in his teenage years, and instantly I would know if I liked them or not. The first one he brought was super rude with me and my parents. She would eat alone in the bedroom when we were having dinner, force my brother to be mean to me, etc. A few months after the relationship ended in a really bad way. After that brought some girls, didn't talk so much with them but they were nice and sweet, didn't last long, less than 2 months. The last one he brought, when I talked to her, just one thought came to mind: she's the one. 5 or 6 years later, here they are, living together. Edit, typos. My 5-year-old has a boyfriend that's in her class and I honestly don't know how I feel. I've met him and he's a sweet kid, but JFC, she's like his beer wench. Edit, the beer wench comment is sarcasm, apologies if that didn't come across. Here's my dad's take. He liked my ex-BF at first because he was initially polite and friendly, and I was very happy with him. However, my dad started to notice red flags later on and his opinion of him changed. For example, when we came back to my place from a day trip, he had sulked because I didn't show the enthusiasm he wanted about his favorite landmark. My dad told him that he should forgive me, but he still would not stop whining. My dad later told me that his reaction was blown out of proportion. Basically, my dad would decide whether or not to like any guy I bring home based on the way he treats me. Edit, I did not show zero interest in what my ex liked. I just wasn't as over-the-top excited as he wanted me to be. I have always instinctively known within seconds of meeting them. I've liked all but one of my son's partners, and the one I didn't feel right about was the one who screwed him up. Not a parent, but this was my experience with my mother when I was a teen. So, as a teen, my mother pulled me to the side and gave me the gay talk. You know, the "I'll still love you even if you were gay" talk. I asked her why she thought I was gay and she said it was because I never bring any girls to the house. Guess what I did within the next few days? I brought a girl in the house. Guess what my mother did? She kicked her out and gave me a lecture on how inappropriate it was to bring girls to the house. Yes, it makes no sense,